Hello dear tea friends from around the world. Welcome to a new tea class with me, Stéphane Erler, the founder of the Tea Masters blog and the tea-masters.com tea boutique. Today we are doing our 7th class about Qin Baozhong. We have a very special Baozhong that we are going to brew today, and I wanted to give you some information about the Taiwan Research and Extension Station, a tea research institute in Taiwan that has been doing a lot of work, and I will give you more info because it's actually very important, the work that they're doing, especially in the Wenshan area. Before we start, quick reminder that we are now in November. Today I have adjusted a bit for the time in Europe, and I've also started some new discounts for the pre-Christmas season. I've also added 3 new aged teas to the selection, one of which I found an extra bag, so I'm sharing it. There's not much left, but whatever, the first come, first serve. I hope that you'll enjoy this, the 1979 Dongding high roast oolong. And if you are in the US, as I explained last week already, there are now ways to send smaller packages of samples to the US. If you are interested, send me an email and we'll figure it out, because the packages cannot be so big. But the advantage is the shipping costs are like before. So if it's a $100 order, then it's free of charge for the shipping, which is much better than the over $100 that are charged by FedEx or UPS, and this is absolutely crazy, and I understand that very few people are willing to pay for this. But I thank those who are willing to. So now we are also in fall, so I thank Elizabeth for this wonderful fall painting that accompanies us today for this class, and a tea that was harvested last year in the winter season. So actually in winter season for the Chinese calendar, so actually it's more like the fall season for our Western calendar. It was harvested in November, of 2024, and it is the Qin Yu Baozhong from Sanxia, an organic Baozhong that is really quite something. Let's reduce the number of leaves. This is a high quality tea. We can brew fewer leaves. That's the advantage with these more expensive teas. They can also be brewed with fewer leaves, and this does not harm the quality. Just, of course, you are not going to get as many brews, but you don't have to use as many leaves as you would with a jade, for instance. So the Taiwan Research and Extension Station plays a pivotal role in the tea research and development in Taiwan. It has bred new cultivars that are more pest resistant, have higher yields and better aromas for the consumers. It has also established the Dongding tea competition with the Farmers Association of Lugu in 1976, and they help judge the best teas from this competition, which is the largest competition in the world. At first it was a competition that happened only in spring. Now it also happens in the winter. Now maybe the most consequential director of this research center was probably Dr. Wu Zhendo in the 70s and 80s. He is the one who had created the competition, and he also is the father of several important tea varietals, tea cultivars. It's easier to pronounce. That I'm going to talk in a few moments about. So this Taiwan Research and Extension Station, actually, at first it was established in Yangmei in Taoyuan in the year 1903, and the name was Tea Manufacture Experiment Station. And since you have followed the classes 1 and 2 about the history of Taiwan, you will remember that 1903 was the 8th year of the Japanese rule on Taiwan, and it was before 1924, which marked the time when Taiwan and Japanese teas got tariffed by the British and had more trouble to export Baozhong to overseas market, especially in the British-controlled areas in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, especially Siam, Vietnam, were places that loved Wenshan Baozhong, especially in the overseas Chinese communities. So 1903 is a time when tea was at its peak in Taiwan. We can say this until 1920s. Apparently, Japan wanted to help Taiwan farmers and merchants to grow thanks to tea, and so they established this manufacture experiment station to bring a modern approach to the research on tea, and, with Japan already being more modernized thanks to the Meiji Revolution. And so this all makes completely sense. What also makes sense is that it was established in Yangmei in Taoyuan, because we've seen that northern Taiwan was really the birthplace of this tea economy. In Nantou High Mountains, there were no teas until 1980 in the High Mountains. Nantou came a bit later, and so all the tea really was made in the north of Taiwan. It started in Nangang, moved to Xindian, Shenzhen, Shuding, later Pinglin, but actually the whole northern region from Danshui to Taoyuan was devoted to tea because of the boom in these overseas markets that drove demand and production also of tea in Taiwan. So Taoyuan had actually in Yangmei had very acidic soil that was not suitable for anything else except tea, but being in a very low elevation place, still it could not compete with Pinglin nowadays. So when farmers had to close down the plantations due to competition from overseas or tariffs, etc., they first closed on Yangmei, but the experiment station persisted over there. Actually, it even made it created other branches in the different tea regions. And the name of this station changed to Taiwan Research and Extension Station, Taiwan Tea and Extension Station, and since August 1st, 2023, the name is now changed to Tea and Beverage Research Station. So TTES or TRES can be called TBRS. But so I see very few people use the acronym TBRS because we are all more used to using TRES or TTES because of the names of the cultivars that were invented by this research station. The most famous cultivars are the number 12. So they use chronological order to give them a number. So the number 12 is, of course, Jinshuan. Number 13 is Jade, 翠玉 in Chinese. We have seen it in our first 2 lessons, if I remember well. We have another famous one, Hongyu, as number 18. When you hear Hong means red, most of the time it's because it's also more suitable for red tea than for oolong. The first 2 are more for oolong. Then we have BU, green jade, number 19. Number 20 is Yingxiang. Both are more for Baozhong and oolong. And number 21 is Hongyun. So Hongyu number 18 was ruby, and Hongyun with an N at the end, number 21, means red cloud, red aftertaste. And this is also a cultivar that is very suitable for making red tea. Right now I only have red Hongyu in my selection with a steep discount, so but no Hongyun, which is a bit more pricey and more difficult to find. Now, that was number 21 is Hongyun. Number 22 is today's tea, Qin Yu. Yu being jade. So again, when we have the word jade, like BU, 翠玉, this means that this varietal is very, very well suited for lighter oxidation for oolong tea or Baozhong tea. We can see some stems in these dry leaves. We can see a darker hue and a very heterogeneous leaf pattern in sizes. They are all quite different. Okay, let's brew. Check if my water is not too strong. Okay, I'm going to brew slowly in order to get really the lightest aromas, the finest aromas. So, but I pour directly on the leaves. By pouring so slowly, some water goes on the side, but that's not a problem. And since it's organic tea, it's very clean, no need to take away the foam. Now, this tea comes from the same plantation as last week's Bilochun. It is a small family-sized company, family-owned company, father, son, grandfather, several generations of ownership for this small farm with actually 2 plantations next to each other. At first it was only the Bilochun plantation, which was passed down from several generations. And now they added this Qin Yu portion next to it by making some space. There were other trees, other fruit trees that were there that were not really put to a good use. So they made this a bit slightly, they did not make it completely flat. They wanted to keep some incline so that the water would naturally flow. You don't want your tea to be soaked in water for too long. And so here next to the Bilochun they planted this Qin Yu in 2019, I think, and it's in 2021 on March 19th that they did their very first harvest of this new cultivar. And I was able at that time to purchase it and propose it on my website. So now this is the fourth winter that they are harvesting this plantation. This still qualifies as a young plantation, and young plantations have this advantage that since the soil has not been exhausted by the continuous work of the tea trees producing lots of leaves that need to be rejuvenated every season. So this plantation is still quite young and gives a more vibrant aroma. It does not require so much fertilizer because the trees so far are still quite small. The yields are quite low, and lower yields, new soil. These are very good conditions to produce high quality tea. And since it's also pest resistant because it's based on Jinshuan, which is a good cultivar to make organic tea, and this is a crossbreed of Qingxing and Jinshuan. So this one is also quite pest resistant, does not require pesticides, and therefore the taste is just so smooth, pure, and naturally sweet. And we can see that it's very different in character from the Pinglin Baozhongs, no matter if it's Jade or Yingzhe Hongxin or Qingxing Oolong. We saw that Pinglin's character is closer to the high mountains because the oxidation level is lower for Baozhong in general, and Pinglin is higher in elevation, 600 meters. But here this farmer, he's actually so small, he has to work by hand, and so to how you say to get the best value out of his leaves, he's actually oxidizing them at a bit higher degree than in Pinglin, than what you would do if you had a large quantity, because if you have large quantities you have less time to dedicate to your leaves, so it's easier to make a quick oxidation and a light oxidation. However, if you have fewer leaves, then you are able to give them a more thorough process, and this involves a bit higher oxidation level. This would be more similar to what we get in the Dongding area in terms of oxidation level. And so this a bit high oxidation level is also more soothing for the stomach. So it's not just on the mouth that it's very sweet and comfortable, but also in the stomach. Also because it's harvested in winter. If you compare it with the spring Baozhongs, it will have a little bit less energy. In spring, the trees receive more sunlight because after March 21st there is more than 12 hours of sunlight. Here we are in November, so we are below 12 hours of sunlight after the autumn equinox. So it's not as vibrant, but it's actually a good fit for this sweeter character of this tea, I feel. And it has this wonderful darker but still very floral aroma. It's an aroma that is sweet, more reminiscent of the countryside in fall in Taiwan when temperatures are still quite high. And very different from other cultivars that we have seen so far. So this is really on the scale the highest oxidation level. Even though when we look at the leaves, they are well, there are some that are a bit more oxidized than others, like this one. We can see a good oxidation level on the sides, a leaf that is also a bit more yellowish, but there are some leaves that are really very very green. So it is still it still qualifies as a low oxidation, just it's low to medium rather than very low. I hope you are enjoying it just as much as I do. And this shows us that it's that in what makes Wenshan Baozhong so interesting is that there are really different styles from the different regions, Sanxia, Pinglin, or Shuding, Xindian, Nangang, different styles and a lot of different cultivars that have been experimented with thanks to the Taiwan Research and Extension Station, or the Tea and Beverage Research Station, should I say now. They have created so many different cultivars that have all been tested in the Wenshan area. So there's much more different characters, different styles to discover in the Wenshan region than in the high mountains, where it's either Jinshuan or Qingxing Oolong, or yeah, what else? Well, there's, and we will see even that in the coming session, in the coming weeks, that there's even possibility of roasting these Baozhongs. Then we have also the complexity of the roast that we especially have more in Dongding area, but Dongding is also again mostly Jinshuan or Qingxing Oolong. It's really in the Wenshan area that we have all these cultivars, great variety, and not just cultivars created by the Taiwan Research and Extension Station, but also older cultivars like we saw Ingzhe Hongxin, and also Zhou Gui from Wuyi. This we are going to see next week in our next tea class. So give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this lesson. I'm going to check if you have any questions. And there are, hello Terry, happy to, you got the sampler this week, so it's you are proof that it's possible to send it to the US now. And so this number 2 is perfect tea for you today. You're right. Thank you very much for this comment and this feedback. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And next week, so we are going to try the Zhou Gui from the sampler, which has now a 5% discount, because I also discounted this tea by 10% to help you make a wonderful gift for your friends, for your family this Christmas season. Order early, because with the shipping, it sometimes it can take time to arrive. We don't know what will happen next month if there are new restrictions. So far so good. It looks like everybody's happy. I give it a 12 out of 10, if you see what I mean. And I thank you again for your interest in my teas, in my classes. Bye bye. Have a great Sunday. Love you. And thank you, Elizabeth, for this wonderful painting of yours. It looks really fine this fall. Okay, bye-bye.